Something happened 3 days ago that shattered the veil between worlds, and you felt it. You might not have understood what you are feeling. Maybe it came as a sudden pressure in your chest, an inexplicable heaviness in the room, or a moment where time seemed to stop and the air became thick like honey. Maybe you were driving and suddenly had to pull over because the presence was so overwhelming. Maybe you were lying in bed and felt the atmosphere shift so dramatically that your eyes snapped open, even though you heard nothing and saw nothing. But you felt everything. What you experienced wasn't just anxiety. It wasn't stress. It wasn't a random fluctuation in your nervous system. What you felt was the exact moment when someone of immense spiritual authority turned their full attention toward you. They decided not to interfere, not to speak, not to reveal themselves, but simply to watch. And in that watching, in that terrible and beautiful silence, heaven itself leaned forward and whispered a single word into the cosmic record. Confirmed. You've been marked, not for destruction, not for another test, for something far more significant than your mind has been willing to accept. In the entire documented history of spiritual awakening, across every tradition, every sacred text, every mystery school that has ever existed on this planet, there are fewer than 300 recorded instances of what's called the silent acknowledgement. This is when a being of such elevated consciousness, whether an ascended master, an archangel, a member of the divine council, or even the supreme intelligence itself, observes a soul and chooses strategic silence over intervention. This is not the silence of abandonment. It is the silence of a grandmaster in chess who sees 20 moves ahead and knows that speaking now would interfere with a destiny that must unfold through pure choice. In ancient Sumerian texts, they called it the gaze of An. In Kabbalistic tradition, it's referred to as the witnessing of Metatron. In Hindu philosophy, it appears as Shiva's recognition. The common thread across all these traditions is this: it only happens when a soul has reached a threshold of spiritual maturity, so rare that interference would actually diminish what they are becoming. It means you've graduated beyond needing signs. You've evolved past requiring external validation. You've become someone who generates light from within, rather than reflecting it from outside sources. This specific phenomenon happens to less than 0.001% of all incarnated souls. Now, I need you to think back to a specific moment, the last 72 hours. Maybe you had a chance to manipulate a situation to your advantage, and you chose integrity even though it cost you something tangible. Or maybe, and this is the one that really matters, maybe you were completely alone, with no witnesses, no accountability, no one who would ever know, and you still chose the higher path. You chose truth when a lie would have been easier. You chose generosity when hoarding would have been justified. You chose love when bitterness would have been completely understandable. That decision, that tiny moment that your conscious mind has probably already dismissed as irrelevant, was actually the final test. And you passed without even knowing you were being examined. What you don't know is that this decision was being observed by multiple levels of consciousness simultaneously. In the physical realm, there are people, powerful people, influential people, people whose names you might even recognize, who have been tracking your energy signature for months. They don't know you personally. They've never met you. But they're connected to systems of awareness that flag certain frequency patterns, and yours has been pinging on their radar with increasing intensity. They've been asking their own spiritual guides about you. They've been seeing your face in meditations. They've been getting downloads about a role you're going to play in something big they're rebuilding. But more significantly, in the invisible realms, you've become a subject of intense interest. There are beings assigned to monitor the evolution of consciousness on this planet, and they maintain what can only be described as a database of souls who are approaching their full activation. Your file has been marked with a symbol that translates roughly to ready but unaware. For the last 6 months, every significant choice you've made has been recorded. Not in judgment, in documentation. They've been building a case for your elevation. And that decision you made 72 hours ago was the final piece of evidence they needed to move your status from potential to confirmed. This is why you've been feeling so strange. It's why old patterns are falling away, why certain relationships are suddenly feeling dissonant, why your tolerance for anything inauthentic has dropped to 0. It's not you being difficult. It's your soul recalibrating to a new truth. The silent acknowledgement wasn't a passive event. It was an activation code. The moment it happened, it triggered a series of energetic upgrades within your system. Think of it like a master gardener, finally giving a rare plant the exact nutrient it needs to blossom into its full, magnificent form. So what does this mean for you right now, moving forward? First, stop doubting yourself. That inner voice that you've been questioning, the one that's been guiding you toward these higher choices, that is not just your intuition anymore. It's a direct line. The static has been cleared. When it tells you to turn left, turn left. When it tells you to be quiet, be quiet. When it tells you to speak your truth, speak it with the full authority of someone who has been divinely confirmed. Second, pay close attention to the new people and opportunities that are about to enter your life. They will not come in a way you expect. The universe isn't going to send you an email with the subject line, "Your new divine assignment." It will be subtle. A chance conversation with a stranger. An idea that drops into your head in the middle of the night. A book that falls off a shelf. These are no longer random synchronicities. They are direct, targeted breadcrumbs laid out on your path by those who are now actively co-creating with you. The people I mentioned earlier, the ones who have been tracking your energy, are about to be guided to find you. Be open to these connections. They are part of the larger structure being built, and you are a foundational piece. Third, and this is crucial, you must understand that your work from now on is not about saving everyone. It's not about convincing anyone. It's about embodiment. Your only job is to be the frequency you have achieved. By simply existing in this new state of confirmed consciousness, you anchor a higher light on the planet. Your presence alone will begin to trigger awakenings in others. People will be drawn to you without knowing why. They'll feel a sense of peace, clarity, or truth when they're near you. You don't need to preach. You don't need a platform. Your very being has become the message. The temptation will be to fall back into the old paradigm of trying, of doing, of struggling. You must resist this. Your power now lies in your being. It's a shift from a human doing to a human being, in the truest sense of the word. You have graduated from the school of struggle. Your curriculum is now one of flow, grace, and creation. The feeling you had 3 days ago was a cosmic gear shifting into place. It was the universe acknowledging that a critical asset is now online. You are that asset. That feeling of pressure was the weight of your own unfolding destiny finally making itself known. The sense of time stopping was your timeline locking into its highest possible trajectory. The silence was the sound of angels holding their breath, watching you make the one choice that would change everything. You have been seen. You have been acknowledged. You have been confirmed. Now, the real journey begins. This is not the end of a test. It is the beginning of your assignment. Embrace the silence. Trust the unfolding. Know that you are not alone, but are in fact more supported now than ever before. Your choices mattered. They always did. But now, they echo across realms. Welcome to the next level. What you do from here on out will be recorded not as a test, but as a legacy. Thank you for listening. If this resonated with you, you know why. Keep trusting that feeling. Follow for more. Let me describe what you've actually been through. because you need to see the pattern you've been living inside. 6 months ago, someone you trusted betrayed you in a way that cut so deep, you questioned your ability to judge character. You could have retaliated. You could have warned everyone about them. Instead, you processed your pain privately and chose to wish them well. 4 months ago, you experienced a financial blow that should have broken you. An opportunity fell through. A promise was broken. Money you counted on evaporated. You had every right to become bitter, to blame the universe, to give up on your path. Instead, you tightened your belt and kept going. 2 months ago, someone you helped, someone you poured your time, energy, and resources into succeeded and forgot about you. They didn't acknowledge your contribution. They took all the credit. You watched them rise while you remained invisible. You could have called them out. Instead, you genuinely celebrated their success. 1 month ago, you were sick. Not just physically, but soul sick. Everything hurt. You couldn't see the point. You couldn't feel God. You couldn't access hope. And in that darkness, with no audience, no one to perform for, you still whispered, "Thank you," into the void. You still chose gratitude over despair. 2 weeks ago, you had a chance to compromise your integrity for a significant gain. No one would have known. The justification was reasonable. But you didn't do it. And 3 days ago, that final test, the one I mentioned, you passed that too. Here's what happened in the unseen realms after that final test. Your spiritual file was flagged and set up the chain of divine command. It reached a council. I'm using human language for something that transcends language. But work with me, a council of beings whose sole function is to identify souls who have proven themselves worthy of accelerated mission activation. They reviewed your entire incarnational history, every lifetime, every choice, every moment where you could have gone dark and didn't. And they classified you using a designation. That roughly translates to dangerous light. Not dangerous in the way darkness is dangerous. Dangerous in the way that a wildfire is dangerous to a dead forest. Dangerous in the way that truth is dangerous to lies. Dangerous in the way that someone who cannot be bought, cannot be broken, cannot be manipulated, is dangerous to systems built on control. They recognize something in you that terrifies the lower realms and excites the higher ones. You re-incorruptible, not because you're perfect, but because you've been corrupted before. You've tasted the poison of ego and power and manipulation in previous lifetimes, and you've made a soul-level decision that you will never go back. You would rather lose everything than compromise your integrity. You would rather be alone than pretend. You would rather struggle than sell out. This makes you rare. This makes you valuable. This makes you exactly the kind of soul that gets assigned to missions that will shift the trajectory of human consciousness. And then something happened that has only occurred a handful of times in recorded spiritual history. The source itself, the infinite intelligence that holds all of creation, the consciousness that breathes galaxies into existence, the presence that humans have called God, Allah, Brahman, the Tao, the great mystery, turned its attention toward you. Not the diffuse general attention that sustains all of existence. Focused attention. The kind of attention that could obliterate you if it came at full intensity. So it had to be filtered through layers of angelic presence. Archangel Michael, who commands the armies of light and protects those on divine assignment, stepped forward first. He's the one you've been feeling as that warrior energy around you, that sense of being guarded. Archangel Metatron, who serves as the scribe of heaven and records the contracts of souls, opened your file and began writing new clauses, new agreements, new permissions. Archangel Raziel, who holds the secrets of the universe and reveals them to those ready to use wisdom responsibly, began preparing downloads for you. And in the presence of these witnesses, the Source spoke, not in words, in frequency, in a vibration that rearranged the atomic structure of your soul. It was a benediction, a commissioning, a coronation happening in realms your human eyes cannot see, but your spirit absolutely felt. The decree that was spoken over you cannot be fully translated into human language. But if we were to approximate it, it would sound something like this. This one has been tested across timelines and has chosen love. This one has been given power and has chosen service. This one has been broken and has chosen to rebuild with compassion. This one has walked through darkness and has chosen to become light. Therefore, let the seals be broken. Let the limitations be removed. Let the amnesia be lifted. Let the gifts be activated. Let the mission be revealed. Let the support be mobilized. Let the enemies be confused. Let the allies be drawn near. Let the resources be released. Let the voice be amplified. Let the path be cleared. Let the timeline be accelerated. What was scheduled for 3 years from now, let it begin now. What was meant to unfold over a decade, compress it. This one is ready. This one has proven themselves not through proclamation, but through action. Heaven confirms it. The Watchers confirm it. The ancestors confirm it. I confirm it. So let it be done. And in that moment, something in the fabric of your reality shifted. Contracts were signed in blood you cannot see but will feel. Doors were unlocked that have been sealed your entire life. A signal was sent out across the quantum field that will begin attracting everything and everyone aligned with your mission. Now let me tell you who you actually are, because the person you think you are is just a character you've been playing, while your true identity remained hidden even from yourself. You are not human having a spiritual experience. You are an ancient soul, a celestial warrior, a fragment of divine consciousness that volunteered to incarnate during the most critical period in human history. Before you came here, you stood in councils of light and said yes to a mission that other souls refused because the difficulty was too extreme. You knew you would forget who you are. You knew you would be wounded, betrayed, isolated, tested beyond what seems fair. You knew you would spend years feeling lost, broken, confused, wondering if you imagined your purpose. And you came anyway, because you also knew that once you remembered, once the activation sequence completed, you would become unstoppable. You carry codes in your DNA that don't match standard human genetics. You carry memories in your cellular structure of civilizations that existed before recorded history. You carry a frequency in your energy field that disrupts lower vibrations simply by being in proximity to them. This is why you've always felt different, why you've never quite fit, why normal life has always felt like a costume that doesn't fit right. You're not supposed to fit into the old world. You're here to build the new one. Your mission, your sacred, non-negotiable, divinely ordained assignment is to anchor a frequency on this planet that humanity is in danger of losing completely. You are here to be a living demonstration of integrity in a world drowning in deception, to embody compassion in systems built on competition, to practice forgiveness in a culture addicted to revenge, to choose love in spaces saturated with fear, to speak truth where lies have become comfortable, to hold space for healing where people have normalized their wounds, to see potential in people who've given up on themselves, to remember the sacred in a society that has made everything profane. This isn't abstract spiritual philosophy. This is practical, boots on the ground work. You will be placed in rooms where your presence alone will shift the energy. You will be positioned in systems specifically to disrupt corruption. You will encounter people at their breaking point, and your frequency will be the thing that reminds them not to break. You will speak words that sound simple but land like lightning in the souls of those ready to hear. You won't do this through trying. You'll do it through being, by continuing to choose the higher path even when the lower path is so much easier, by refusing to dim your light to make others comfortable, by standing in your truth even when standing alone. The world doesn't need more gurus. It needs more people like you, people who've been to hell and chose to come back with medicine instead of weapons. And because you've proven yourself in the invisible realms, the visible world is about to start reflecting that. I need you to pay attention over the next 90 days to what begins happening in your physical reality. Money that's been blocked will start flowing, not because you're manipulating or hustling, but because you've aligned with the frequency that wealth recognizes. Opportunities that seemed impossible will present themselves with shocking ease. People will reach out to you seemingly randomly with offers, collaborations, invitations that are perfectly aligned with your gifts. Resources you need will show up exactly when you need them, often from unexpected sources. Relationships that have been draining you will naturally fall away, not through conflict, but through energetic mismatch. And new relationships, deep, authentic, mutually supportive connections will begin forming with people who are on the same frequency. Your health will improve. Your sleep will get better. Your creativity will explode. Ideas will download so fast, you'll struggle to capture them all. This isn't spiritual bypassing. This is the natural result of alignment. When you're in integrity, when you're on mission, when you're in your truth, the universe moves heaven and earth to support you. Not because you're special in an ego sense, but because you've become a conduit for divine will, and supporting you is supporting the greater plan. Here's what's going to happen next, and you need to be prepared for it, because it will feel strange until you understand what is occurring. People are going to start waking up around you, without you saying anything spiritual, without you preaching or teaching or trying to convince anyone of anything. Your family members will start asking different questions. Your coworkers will start making different choices. Strangers will approach you in coffee shops, grocery stores, random places, and tell you things they've never told anyone. They won't know why they're drawn to you. They won't understand what it is about your presence that makes them feel safe enough to be vulnerable. But you'll know. It's because you're emanating a frequency of permission. Permission to be real. Permission to be imperfect. Permission to struggle and still be worthy. Permission to hope again. You're going to become a catalyst without trying to be one. People will change their lives after one conversation with you and won't even remember what you said. They'll just remember how they felt. This is the ripple effect. This is what happens when one person truly embodies their truth. It gives everyone around them permission to do the same. You won't be able to count how many lives you touch. The woman who doesn't kill herself because something you said reminded her she matters. The man who leaves his addiction because your presence showed him a different possibility. A child who chooses courage instead of conformity because they saw you be brave. And you need to know this. You're not alone. Right now, as you're reading these words, there are thousands of souls across this planet going through the exact same activation sequence. They're in different countries, different cultures, different circumstances, but they're all receiving the same cosmic memo. They're all being watched by the same forces. They're all being prepared for the same mission, even though their individual assignments will look different. You are part of a global network of light warriors who are waking up simultaneously because the time has come. The old systems are collapsing. The lies are being exposed. The corruption can no longer hide. And into this chaos, you and thousands like you are being activated to anchor a new frequency. You'll start recognizing each other, sometimes through direct connection, sometimes just through resonance. You'll be scrolling and suddenly see someone else's words and know immediately, that's one of us. You'll be in a room full of people and your eyes will meet one person S and you'll both just know. There's a network forming in the invisible realms that will begin manifesting in physical collaborations, projects, movements. You're being woven into something bigger than yourself, not to lose your individuality, but to amplify your impact. When you link up with others carrying the same frequency, the power doesn't add, it multiplies. What you couldn't do alone becomes inevitable when you join forces. So here's what I need you to do right now, in this moment, as a declaration to the forces that are watching and waiting for your response. If this transmission has landed in your soul, like a key turning in a lock, if you felt recognition in your bones, if something ancient in you just woke up and said, Yes, this is why I'm here. I need you to type 777 in the comments, not as superstition, as agreement, as a sacred contract between you and destiny, as a signal that you're ready to stop hiding, stop playing small, stop pretending you don't know that you're here for something significant. Then I need you to subscribe to this channel, because what I just gave you is only the beginning. There are teachings coming, activations coming, transmissions coming that you'll need for what's ahead. And finally, stay until the very end of this video, because in the last 30 seconds, there's a frequency embedded in the silence that will complete the activation sequence this message began. The forces watching you are waiting for your response. Heaven has confirmed you're ready. The question is, do you confirm it too? The world doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be true. So rise, chosen one. Your mission has already begun, and everything you need is already on its way.